noise canceling headphones, I talk too loud. But I think it'll be fine because I could hear myself speaking. Because my mic. Anyway.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. I know, I'm sorry, I look like shit. I'm all in like a sweatshirt and whatever. I am really cold today, I don't know why. I freaking hurt myself really badly yesterday on the way home from picking up the boys from school. And I think like I don't know what it is, but ever since then, I've just been feeling like off and just sick and cold and like it's a bad contusion on my leg. It's bad. So I do apologize for looking like crap. Hello, Blake Star. How are you doing? I'm, like I said, I'm just hanging out here on this Friday. It is going to be a shorter stream today because it is what is called a professional development day at school, which means that the teachers still have to go to school, but the children do not. I have a feeling that it is report card preparation day. That's what I have a feeling is going on. So I've got the kids home, so it's going to be a bit of a shorter stream than usual. But we are still here, and we're still going to have a bit of a stream. We're gonna watch 2 videos today, and one of them is question period. And oh boy, did things go from boring to not boring really goddamn quick. But before we get into that, I hope you guys are all having a great, Friday. I just about forgot what day of the week it was. A great Friday, and that we're all caffeinated and ready for the day. I'm just gonna pull Twitch chat back up. There we go. Yeah, it's like I was walking with my boys, and there was like this big truck parked on the sidewalk with its door open, and there was a bunch of cars driving by on the other side, so we couldn't walk on the road. So my boys were trying to guide me around this truck, and there was like, I guess, this set of stairs cut into the lawn of the house that we were passing, and my cane missed the stair, and we were walking kind of like on an angle, so my foot caught the corner, and I went down and I smashed my leg, and these were like concrete steps, and I smashed the top part of my shin off of the bottom step right just below my knee, just below where the soft part of the knee and the shin bone meet. It's just under there, and it is tender. Like, I keep getting pain shocks all the way down to my foot, and it's like, I know it's not broken because I was able to hobble my way home, and then I was able to walk to the dollar store later, but Jesus, does it hurt. And I have not been feeling well since it happened. So I'm guessing that I did some damage to my leg, and my body is trying to do its best to heal. So that's my lovely morning. I hope you guys are having a better morning than that. Because yeah, it hurts to move my leg. So I've got my leg like propped up on the bar of my desk. So yeah, it's painful. But I'll get through it. And it's rainy and crap here, so that's another reason that I probably don't feel good, because of the rain. But the show must go on, right? Including finding out what Stephen King book even Stephen King doesn't want you to read. I'm betting you it's It. I've not watched this video. I don't actually know. But I'm gonna bet that it's It. Because if I were Stephen King and I were looking back on all of my work, I would be like, please don't read It. Please. For the love of God. So let's see what book Stephen King doesn't want you to read of his, because that's gonna be interesting. It is probably better to feel a little cold than be burning up. True. I mean, if I was burning up, then I would be having an infection, and then that would be bad. We don't need an infection. So I do have my earbuds out because remember we discovered that loopback and Bluetooth now apparently don't seem to go well together. So I'm gonna push play and we're gonna see what book he doesn't want us to read.
Stephen King writes spooky stories. Stories about a cursed patch of earth that brings the dead back to life.
I have a theory that it is the same spirit that haunts all of his books, because most of his books take place in the same rough area in Maine. And it may not be like the exact same piece of ground every time, but I think it's the same spirit. I think it's the same Wendigo spirit that haunts all of the stories. And you'll even see like returning characters in some of the stories.
Or a demonic store that exchanges magical items for customers' souls. Or a pair of novelty teeth that come to life and eat people. Okay, so some are less spooky than others. Some of King's work have prompted efforts to pull them from stores and library shelves. But
really? I wonder if anybody tried to do that with It. With the child sex. And yeah.
But one of his earliest writings stands out as his most controversial, to the point that it's now even difficult to track down a copy. So, today we're looking back at the novel Rage, a banned Stephen King book. But before we get started, make sure you've subscribed to the Weird History channel. After that, head on down to the comments and let us know what other forbidden tomes you would like to hear about next.
Rage, huh? I wonder if now I want to read it. Why is it so bad? Hope your leg heals up soon, because lower limb pain can be a bitch. It is a bitch. It is a bitch. And it's even around like the soft tissue. It's not just on the bone. So even when I put my leg down on like a pillow or something, it's like, ow.
Okay, all bans and no books make King a dull writer. Perhaps unsurprisingly from a guy who routinely knocks out 1,000-page novels like they were grocery lists.
He does too. His books are so long. Like, what was it? Pet Cemetery is like 30 hours or something like that. Oh, what was the other one? The Shining is at least, I think it's like 24 hours. These are Audible times, by the way. It is 44. So almost 2 days of audio time. They're long.
Stephen King was a prolific writer from a young age. By his own recollections, King started writing when he was just 6 or 7. At first, copying panels out of comic books or summarizing favorite films before devising his own original characters and scenarios. He started reading voraciously after discovering the works of Richard Matheson and H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, of course, Lovecraft. Of course. Why else? How did I not see the Lovecraftian connection with the giant space turtle at the end of it?
And by the time he was in elementary school, King and his brother were already collaborating on their own newspaper, Dave's Rag, which they compiled via mimeograph machine. If you're under 40, ask your parents what that is. King had his first story published in 1965, when he was 18 years old and still attending high school. I Was a Teenage Grave Robber.
Okay, that's kind of a cool title. I Was a Teenage Grave Robber. It sounds like a creepypasta off of like a YouTube channel. That's kind of cool. I like that. I Was a Teenage Grave Robber.
Serialized over 4 issues in the fan magazine Comics Review. That same year, King also wrote a novel, which he called Getting It On. The book was published over a decade later in 1977 after King had already embarked on a professional writing career. Retitled Rage, it was the 4th overall book King had published, but is first released under the pseudonym Richard Bachman.
Richard Bachman, huh? I wonder if I look for this book, if I will find it.
Rather than his own name. Like King at the time the book was written, lead character Charlie Decker is a high school senior in Maine.
Charlie Decker, isn't he in Insomnia? See? Look, characters returning. Because I'm pretty damn sure Charlie Decker is the character in Insomnia from the sample that I've listened to.
But here, the similarities largely stop. Unlike his bookish, mild-mannered creator, Charlie is troubled and violent. As the novel opens, he's expelled from school after striking a teacher with a pipe wrench.
Oh, okay. Striking a teacher with a pipe wrench, go on.
And insulting the principal with profanities. Angered by his dismissal, Charlie goes on a rampage, grabbing a pistol and setting his locker on fire, and using the weapon to eliminate several teachers.
Oh, good. Okay. A school shooter. Lovely. Okay. Go on.
Ultimately, Charlie takes an algebra class hostage. During the ensuing standoff with police, Charlie and his classmates use the opportunity to get to know one another on a deeper level, sharing embarrassing anecdotes and shedding light into their various difficulties at home. Sort of like the Breakfast Club, if John Bender had to repeat another year. The other students learn that Charlie is a victim of severe child abuse. Rather than feeling terrorized, they begin to feel compassion for Charlie.
So, Stephen King writes a book about literal Stockholm Syndrome? Stephen King writes a book on how Stockholm Syndrome manifests, okay.
And begin to side with him over the police outside. So much so that they violently attack an athletic student named Ted who tries to escape. Eventually, Charlie lets his classmates go, and the police storm the school and arrest him. He stands trial and is found not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to a psychiatric hospital. The book ends with Charlie addressing the reader directly from his hospital bed. At the time King wrote the book in 1965, school shootings remained a relative rarity in the U.S.
Yeah, not like today. Space Turtle, it sounds like he just watched a Gamera film. Well, see, the thing is that Stephen King was on a lot of drugs when he wrote it. and he had just been through like a really bad car accident. So he was writing like some really dark shit. Like with it, there was the first time they got rid of Pennywise, the 7 of them got together, the 7 12-year-olds got together in a sewer and had sex with each other. Okay? This was written by an adult, by the way. Second time, or no, like it was just, ugh, it was crazy.
Though they were not entirely unheard of. In 1963, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 15-year-old Augie Holmquist was shot twice in the locker room of Jefferson High School by a fellow student following a particularly heated game of water polo. In
Water polo?
1966, a 48-year-old teacher was fatally shot in Bayshore, New York, while attempting to break up a fight between 2 students, one of whom was armed. Still, the similarities between Charlie Decker's fictional attack in Rage and several contemporary school shooting incidents have made the book troublesome and worrying for modern readers in a way that it didn't in 1965.
See, that's interesting. That's kind of like a reversal of how usually today, in modern times, people are more uncomfortable with a book because it was okay, like because it's less rare now. Like the open racism of Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, for example, is less rare or is less prevalent now, so it's very uncomfortable for modern readers to read, which is why they want people to censor themselves when they're reading things like character names, for example. But this is kind of the opposite, where school shootings weren't as prevalent as they are now. And because of that, it is more uncomfortable for modern readers to read, because it is more prevalent now and it's so similar to the way things go that it's uncomfortable for readers.
The book expresses a level of compassion and sympathy for Charlie that modern readers may find inappropriate. Charlie's hostages begin to feel an emotional connection with him, which at the time was frequently attributed to a controversial phenomenon called Stockholm Syndrome.
Thank you! Stephen King literally wrote a book on what developing Stockholm Syndrome looks like.
Though this concept has since been discredited by many psychologists and sociologists in the years after Rage was published.
Really? Stockholm Syndrome has been discredited? I didn't know that. At all.
Charlie's classmates joining his cause in attacking Ted, who in part represented a traditional ideal of how teenagers should look and behave, could be interpreted that Charlie's crusade is somehow defensible or even righteous, rather than horrific. Additionally, the book closes with Charlie getting placed in psychiatric care rather than receiving a prison sentence. Readers in 1965 might have been able to put personal feelings about mass shooters aside and engage with the story on its own level, nearly 40 years before Columbine, but the story's more challenging in the present day, when school shootings are a devastating fact of life.
That is an interesting differential between now and then, when, like, back then psychiatric care was not the best and people were not really the most accepting of needing psychiatric care. Now it's mental health is very, very well understood, but it's accepted to be mentally ill as more so than it was back then. And now people are less comfortable with Decker being institutionalized psychiatrically than back then, and I would have thought it would have been the other way around. I would have thought readers back in 65 would have wanted him jailed instead of institutionalized psychiatrically, and I would have thought that readers today would have been okay with him being institutionalized over jailed. That's interesting.
Rage wasn't banned simply because of its subject matter. The novel has also been allegedly connected to a number of instances of real-world violence. In April 1988, teenager Jeffrey Lynn Cox entered his fourth period humanities class armed with a semi-automatic rifle. Before he could hurt anyone, Cox's classmates tackled him and managed to pull the firearm away.
Wow, those are some ballsy kids. Good for him. Good for them.
It was later revealed that while seeking psychiatric care at Los Angeles County USC Medical Center the previous year, Cox had reread the novel Rage multiple times, developing a fixation with it.
Oh, yes, that's awesome. While receiving psychiatric care, he became obsessed with the novel Rage. Did nobody, connect that?
Cox discussed his motives during his arraignment in a downtown Los Angeles courtroom. He explained that he'd brought the gun to school in order to share a message about unmasking people, of disrobing the images everyone puts on, of making people real, which was similar to Decker's motivation in the book. The following year, in September 1989, 17-year-old Kentucky high school senior Dustin L. Pierce brought a shotgun and 2 handguns to school and used them to take 11 of his classmates hostage.
Lovely. And let me guess, he said that he read Rage too.
Over the course of a 9-hour standoff, Pierce demanded food and cigarettes and asked to speak with his estranged father, whom he had not seen since he was 4 years old.
That's sad. That's really sad. All he wanted was to talk to his dad.
Eventually, authorities talked Pierce into surrendering and letting all of the hostages go without incident. A search of his bedroom later turned up a copy of Rage, which authorities assumed had partially inspired Pierce. On September 11th, 1991, one day after his 17th birthday, Ryan Russell Harris of Rapid City, South Dakota, brought a sawed-off shotgun to his math class. After ordering his teacher out of the room, Harris held his classmates hostage, occasionally waving the gun around the room, pressing it against their heads, or firing shots into the walls.
What a lovely situation to be in. Oh man, this is... Okay, so now we understand Stephen King's love of school shootings. School shootings, child sex. I don't understand what is with Stephen King. And his, this is weird.
Overhead projectors, intercoms, and other objects to scare them. A standoff with police lasted for several hours, during which Harris demanded and received a package of cigarettes. When Harris put down the shotgun and ordered to light one of the smokes, another student named Chris Eriks grabbed it and quickly started escorting his classmates out of the room. Police then entered and
Again, that's a ballsy kid. That is a ballsy kid. Okay, he's put down the shotgun to light a cigarette. I'm gonna quickly grab it, risk my life to do that, and then get everybody out.
Apprehended Harris. 2 years later, Gary Scott Pennington of Grayson, Kentucky, showed up at his high school with a .38 caliber revolver and fatally shot his English teacher, Deanna McDavid. The shooting was so sudden and surreal that many students assumed it was a planned sketch or exercise. Pennington then fatally shot 51-year-old custodian Marvin Hicks, who was reportedly trying to escort other students out of harm's way, before taunting his classmates. But Pennington eventually lost his taste for hostage-taking and began allowing students to exit the classroom in groups of 2 every few minutes. Ultimately, he let every student go and surrendered himself to police.
And this is all blamed on the book Rage? Okay, why? These people all have their own, agency. Why is it all, and I hate to defend Stephen King here, because after reading the book but this just feels like it's the book's fault. No, it's not the book's fault. I'm sorry.
Not only had Pennington read King's book Rage, he had actually written a paper about it for McDavid's class and was upset when he'd received a C grade. The paper had raised red flags for McDavid. She'd brought it up with several colleagues.
Okay, but this is the problem with teachers, okay? Was the paper well written? Because this is the thing, you can't give a bad mark because it scares you. Okay? If it's a well-written, well-thought-out paper, you still give it a good grade, but then you go and you talk to the school about it. You do both. Okay? But you don't like make it worse by giving him a C. Like that you could ugh.
Concerned over Pennington's frequent choice of violence, death, and dying as subjects. Pennington later said he had not specifically targeted McDavid, but had merely intended to eliminate any two people he could find in order to become eligible for the death penalty.
Oh, so he was suicidal. That's all that was. He was suicidal, but he couldn't do it himself.
In 1997, a 14-year-old named Michael Carneal, also from Kentucky, brought a concealed shotgun and rifle to school with him. He hid the weapon inside a blanket and claimed it was part of an art project for class. He also had a loaded .22 caliber pistol in his backpack. When he got to school one morning, Carneal inserted a pair of earplugs and began firing at random targets, ultimately slaying 3 students and injuring 5 more.
Jesus. Just indiscriminately? Wow, why? Like, what? Just randomly shooting people.
Carneal then dropped the pistol and immediately turned himself over to the school principal, while allegedly saying, "I can't believe I did that." After a search of Carneal's locker turned up a copy of Rage, Stephen King had finally had enough. He contacted his publisher and requested that the novel not be reprinted ever again.
Oh, wow. So Stephen King self-banned his own book. That's crazy. Stephen King banned his own book. Cause dumb kids. This is a problem. Why are we letting kids have access to this shit? Like, we can still have books, right? We don't need to ban books. We just need to put them in the appropriate places, right? Like, not in the kids section or the teenagers section, right? The adults section perhaps might be a better spot for Stephen King books. Just a thought. Maybe I'm crazy.
While Rage had been released as a standalone book by Signet in 1977, it was far more widely available in the 1985 collection, The Bachman Books, a collection of King's works published under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. New editions of the Bachman books are occasionally still published, but they do not contain Rage. Rage has become so hard to find, original copies are now highly sought-after collector's items.
I bet you there's never been an audiobook of it published, ever.
Amazon lists original copies of Rage for as much as $5,000. And in 2013, Bookfinder.com ranked it as the #2 most in-demand rare book in its entire catalog.
Wow.
King explained his decision to remove the book from circulation while speaking to the Vermont Library of Congress's annual meeting in 1999, saying, "The Carneal incident was enough for me." He added that while he thinks artists and writers need to have the freedom to explore controversial or troubling subject matter and to draw on America's violent culture for inspiration, some works can have an excessively negative impact on influential readers, particularly young people.
Well, okay, yeah, that's why we don't, put the books that... I read Pet Sematary when I was 8. I read the most violent and nasty shit between the ages of 10 and 15. I turned out fine. Okay. Sure you did.
King.
Well, you're not a school shooter. That's true. If you mean you turned out fine, but because you're not a murderer... No, you did turn out fine. That's true. You can't... And it's not the book's fault. It's not discussing the book with your parent or with your kid. You've gotta... The one thing I will give my parents credit for is they did let me read like the Dragon Riders of Pern books and stuff. They have, themes and stuff that are for older adults. But I was reading them when I was 10, 11, 12 and stuff, and my dad and I would talk about it, right? You talk about these things. You don't just hand your kid a book and be like, okay, be gone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm letting my oldest read the Harry Potter books. When it comes to the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th ones, he's gonna get upset. He's gonna get upset, but I'm gonna still let him read them because he needs to be exposed to that stuff. Reading is how you can expose yourself to things that you might not necessarily want, like that you might not necessarily experience.
King also discussed his feelings about gun violence, and rage specifically, in his 2013 nonfiction essay, Guns. All proceeds from the piece went to the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. So what do you think? Do you think rage should have been banned? Let us know.
The Dragon Riders of Pern books are why I hate dragons now.
In the comments
Yes,
below.
I know.
And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.
You think my mother actually talked about books with me? No. She should have. Talking about books is fun. Discussing books is fun. It's, I don't know. It's a fun thing to do. Discussing literature. I like talking about books. Like frickin' the Pendergast books are, I like, they've always been, you know, science fiction-y / supernaturally, but fucking multiverse theory? Traveling between universes? Okay, I think they've jumped the shark. Their next book comes out in August, and I'm scared. I'm scared, you guys. And I just recorded the review for Diablo Mesa, which was the second to last of the books so far for the Nora Kelly, Corey Swanson series. That one jumped the shark too. So I'm just like, oh my lord, guys, just be done. Just be done. And that's it. Just be finished with it all. Retire. You guys have done an amazing job so far. Don't make your characters like this, please. But yeah. That's my opinion. Alright. We're gonna jump right into question period because you know how things were getting kind of boring and repetitive and petty? Yeah. Not so much anymore. It's come out this week that members of the very House of Commons are on a list of compromised members of Parliament for foreign interference from hostile nations. Right? So this is big. This is like actual sitting members of the House of Commons. Like, so the people that we're actually looking at right now. Okay? There are some people in this room, there are some people that are on a list of compromised members of Parliament due to foreign interference. And we're going to watch how the Liberals deal with the questions about this, because this is important. This is very, very important. And this is from yesterday. So this is June 6th that this occurred. So we've got Andrew Scheer, the member. Banning content is dumb. Maybe have a content warning label. Yeah, that could be true. That's also an option. That is also an option, Blake Star. putting a content label up. Let's make sure we've got volume at maximum. Okay, we're good. Now, let's get into this insanity.
Questions orales, oral questions. The honourable member from Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, governments from countries that are hostile to Canada, who actively try to harm our citizens and our country, interfered with the most fundamental aspect of our society, our democracy. An intelligence report claims that there are members of this House whose loyalty is not solely to the people of Canada, but to foreign governments who wish us harm. And what has been the Liberal response so far? They won't release the names. And now the Liberal member for Pickering-Uxbridge says, quote, boo-hoo, get over it.
Boo-hoo, get over it. That's the response to, hey, it didn't come out that they're on a list, it's suspected. Oh, I thought I actually heard them say a list of compromised names last night in these clips.
Instead of telling Canadians to just walk it off, why don't they release the names of MPs who are working against Canada?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, my friend from Regina Capel knows very well that no government is in a position to release sensitive information about particular pieces of intelligence.
Oh, please get over yourself. He's not asking for the source. He's asking for the names of the people that are suspected. Jesus Christ. And you guys are directly working for the people of Canada. The people of Canada have a right to know who these people are.
I have a suggestion for him. He sits a couple of seats away in this place from his leader. If they were sincere in understanding some of the information underlying the public version of the report of the National Security Committee of Parliamentarians, his leader could avail himself of the offer that I'm happy to reiterate again today, to get the security clearance, get all the information that the Committee on Parliamentarians had, and then he could come to a reasoned judgment in this place.
So he basically just said, well, you know, I have clearance and your leader doesn't. So I'm willing to give him clearance if he just asks for it. So maybe you should tell him to ask me for clearance so that I will tell everybody what's going on. Like, that is what he just did. I have clearance and your leader doesn't, and I have the ability to give it to him. That's what that was.
The Honourable Member from Regina Capel.
This isn't about offering secret briefings to MPs who have to keep all that information secret. It's about releasing the names so that Canadians can know which MPs are working against the interests of Canada. So I've got a very simple question. He should be able to answer this one. Do any of the MPs listed on this report of compromised members who are working against the interests of Canada, do any of those MPs currently sit in cabinet, yes or no?
So yeah, he wants to know, because so there is a report. There is an actual report that has compromised people on it. And he wants to know if anybody that is in the actual cabinet is on that report. So he and he should be able to answer that question. That's not a you need security clearance question.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I'll give full points to my friend from Regina Capel to try and get me to do indirectly what he knows very well I can't do directly.
Oh, fuck off. He just said, are there any members of cabinet listed on that report? All you have to do is say yes or no. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go ahead and, well, you should go ahead and list them off. But all you have to do is say yes or no.
correctly. Mr. Speaker, I'll remind our friend that our government is the first government to take this issue seriously. In the previous Conservative government, they did absolutely nothing to secure our democratic institutions, in spite of public warnings from CSIS for the last 2 years they were in government. I worked last summer with my friend from Regina Capel to set up the Hogg Commission, for example.
Hogue. Hogue, not hog.
We look forward to Justice Hogg's recommendations and would be happy to work with him in terms of implementing them.
The honourable member from Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, they sat on warnings from our intelligence agencies so that they could protect their own partisan interests. And they have refused to hand over cabinet confidences to the Hogue Commission. But this one should actually be really simple. Cabinet ministers get to see everything. They get a say on everything the Government of Canada does, and they get to personally lobby the Prime Minister any day they want. Can the minister assure Canadians that nobody who sits around the cabinet table today is on this list of compromised MPs who are working against Canada?
Again, that is a yes or no question. He can say, Mr. Speaker, I can in fact assure Canadians that unfortunately, while we have had a compromisation of our House of Commons, which we need to work to resolve, our cabinet is secure. Or he could say, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, our cabinet is not secure at this time, and we need to take steps to secure it. That's not that that's all he doesn't have to fucking go in there. Someone asks for a written list that will be all blacked out. Yes. Yes. Exactly, Blake Star. That's basically what they do before they give anything to any committees or commissions that have to order them to give these documents over. They black out most shit. They redact most shit.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our friend from Regina Capel should know very well that our national security and intelligence agencies, including the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, take all of the issues of national security very seriously.
He's asking you. He's asking you about cabinet members. He's not asking the national intelligence people or the Mounties. He's asking you.
And Mr. Speaker, our friend should know very well that our government has taken more than any other government steps to ensure that our democratic institutions are protected, and he should have confidence that we'll continue to do that work, something that his previous government did absolutely nothing about.
Zero. Nothing about. Zero.
Nope, nothing. Zero. I love the members of parliament that are close enough to a microphone to add their little comments in the background. It's great. It's great fun, and it's usually a liberal. It's usually Chrystia Freeland or that parliamentary secretary guy, that guy.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable.
Oh God, not her.
Cabinet knows it. They know the names. Just like they knew that the Chinese Communist Party had intervened in the nomination process for Don Valley North. NCCOP revealed that members helped foreign state actors. The Prime Minister knows who those MPs are. For partisan reasons, he protected the member for Don Valley North. Is that why, once again, today, he's refusing to reveal the names? Protected the member for Don Valley revealed that members helped foreign state actors.
Sorry.
The Prime Minister knows who those MPs are. For partisan reasons, he protected the member for Don Valley North. Is that why, once again, today, he's refusing to reveal the names?
Yes, it is. It is. And it's also probably why he's not in Parliament either.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Well, Mr. Speaker, my colleague is a serious parliamentarian. He knows that according to Canadian law, no one is going to disclose that information that he's claiming to be so interested in.
Claiming to be so interested? Dude! it's come out that members of the House of Commons are acting on behalf of foreign nations. Of course he's interested in that information, and nobody's asking you right now to openly, publicly disclose everything, although you should. They're asking, is there anybody in the current cabinet that is compromised?
But I have a suggestion for him. We offered the leader of his party, and we're still ready to do this, we offered to give him access to the information, the intelligence.
Yeah, and do you think Polyev is going to keep that quiet if he gets that clearance? Well, that's the thing. He has to keep that quiet, which is why he's not going for the clearance. I guarantee you, he's not going for the clearance because then he would have to keep it quiet. So I think that, I'm sorry, the name Regina sounds like a disease. Kind of does.
Under the National Security and Intelligence Committee's report. This is information that under legislation is kept confidential. We can share it with him if he really wants to know what's happening.
Oh, if he really wants to know what's happening. Get fucked. Oh my god. That's the Minister of Public Safety, by the way. That's our Minister of Public Safety, you guys.
The honorable member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Well, Mr. Speaker, a pregnant woman who was trying to bring her child to childcare was chased around in the street by a woman who was screaming at her. That was in Montreal. She said she was incredibly scared, and that's what it's like in Montreal after years of this lax Liberal government.
Wait, what happened?
Montreal. Well, Mr. Speaker, a pregnant woman who was trying to bring her child to childcare was chased around in the street by a woman who was screaming at her. That was in Montreal.
Lovely. Just lovely. I'm glad I'm not living in a big city anymore.
She said she was incredibly scared, and that's what it's like in Montreal after years of this lax Liberal government. This government lets people go on home arrest or on bail instead of putting them behind bars. Will this government refuse to grant exemptions for supervised injection centers near schools and childcare centers?
Wait, they're putting in detention centers near schools and shit?
Yes or no?
Clear. We always put a lens of public health and public safety on everything we do in addressing this deadly overdose crisis. But in that frame, Mr. Speaker, also be clear, the safe consumption site in Montreal is managed and run by the province of Quebec. It is under their jurisdiction. Any proposal that comes to us, there was no Montreal proposal on our table, but anything that comes to us, we want to make sure kids, families, and communities are safe while we save lives.
So did they just blame the province for having a safe consumption site near a school? Is that what I just heard? Let's hear that again.
Mr. Speaker, clear. We always put a lens of public health and public safety on everything we do in addressing this deadly overdose crisis. But in that frame, Mr. Speaker, also be clear, the safe consumption site in Montreal is managed and run by the province of Quebec. It is under their jurisdiction. Any proposal that comes to us, there was no Montreal proposal on our table, but anything that comes to us, we want to make sure kids, families, and communities are safe while we save lives.
So yeah, she just basically blamed the province of Quebec for having a safe consumption site near a school in Montreal. It's not our fault. It's Quebec's fault. But we want to work with the provinces. But it's also Quebec's fault that, oh my god. This is the lovely Liberal government, you guys.
L'honorable député de La Prairie.
The honorable member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, the National Security
So the
Committee
Minister of Public Safety doesn't care about the safety of the people? No. The place that rhymes with fun.
Stated that members here in this House are under foreign influence. That's very serious. Yesterday, however, the Deputy Prime Minister refused to address the topic. She seemed completely uninterested in discussing this, even when the NDP asked questions on the same topic. Our democracy is under attack. And yet, the Deputy Prime Minister doesn't care at all. If an elected official is working for foreign interests, not for the interests of Canadians, they need to be shown the door.
Absolutely. We need a vote of no confidence, like right now. We need these people out.
It's very serious. What will the government do to fix the situation? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for La Prairie for his question.
Would you? Are you sure? Are you sure you would? Because that's a pretty hard question.
I'm happy to explain that our government, since 2015, has created a series of measures.
And they've not done a goddamn thing.
And we have continued to develop those measures as the situation changes, based on expert advice, arm's length reviews. We have brought before Parliament a very important piece of legislation on this. I greatly appreciate the Bloc Québécois support.
Yeah, well, you know what? The Bloc Québécois are kind of racist, and they really don't like foreigners. So if you're gonna allow foreign interference, I don't think they're gonna support you. I'm just saying. Let's play the political blame game. Yep.
In order to bring in more measures to protect our institutions, we will continue to do that. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. It's time to take action. People are getting more and more worried. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, what has the government done? What has it brought in to do something about the fact that there are members here in this House who are collaborating with foreign powers? It's done nothing. We're seeing nothing done. And when we raise the problem that our democracy is under threat, the answer just ends up talking about interest rates and the Bank of Canada.
Yep. Interest rates, Bank of Canada, and you're racist. That's basically what it is.
It's not serious. This government needs to start taking democracy seriously. The Honourable Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, I hope that all members in this House take democracy seriously. People who are lucky enough to be elected here to serve their constituents in Canada take democracy very seriously.
I can't believe he's actually saying that with a straight face while what's going on is going on. That is flabbergasting to me.
And that's why I'm very pleased to work with my colleague for La Prairie. For example, in creating the UG Commission, I appreciated the work we did together, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the UG Commission says in its report. I'm looking forward to passing bills like C-70. These bills will enable us to stand up even more strongly against foreign interference.
Dude, no, it's not time for passing bills. It's time for you to go. This is bad. You know, no more bills passing. No, none of this shit. Just go.
From Edmonton, Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, border workers keep Canadians safe. They're critical to keeping illegal firearms out of the country and protecting our border. But when it comes to their pensions, CBSA workers aren't treated like other public safety officials. CBSA employees are relying on the minister to keep her promise and give fair retirement benefits. When will the minister treat CBSA officers fairly and offer them an equitable pension so that they can get the respect they deserve?
And that's why a bunch of CBSA agents are about to go on strike. Then what are you guys gonna do, huh?
Here. The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin by saying that we are committed to reaching a deal that is fair for employees and for Canadian taxpayers. That deal will be reached at the table, Mr. Speaker. We are committed to negotiation, but negotiation is a process.
She has had no inflection in her... She has been talking like this the entire time. Look, I even found the note that she's been using. It's B... She's talking like this the entire time of her speech. She hasn't used punctuation once, Mr. Speaker. What the hell is this person's problem? What the fuck?
Of give and take, and we are more than willing to make concessions, but we expect that to happen on the other side as well. 90% of border services workers are essential. That means they have the responsibility. And
not only 90%. I'm pretty sure all of them are essential. But go on.
Duty to provide uninterrupted services, but I will reiterate: the best deals are made at the table, and that's where we will remain until a deal is reached. Thank you.
It sounded like, listen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin by saying that we are...
She started off like a robot, and then it was like somebody whispered in her ear, like, you have to... Dude, inflection, please. Because listen.
The respect they deserve. CBSA, when will the minister treat CBSA officers fairly? CBSA employees are relying on the minister to keep her promise and give fair retirement benefits. When will the minister treat CBSA officers fairly and offer them an equitable pension so that they can get the respect they deserve?
So that's the, like, normal talking lady. Here's the president of the Treasury Board.
The Honorable President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin by saying that we are committed to reaching a deal that is fair for employees and for Canadian taxpayers. That deal will be reached at the table, Mr. Speaker. We are committed to negotiation.
There, right there. Somebody was in her ear going, make your voice do something else. Now, please.
Negotiation is a process of give and take, and we are more than willing to make concessions, but we expect that to happen on the other side as well. 90% of border services workers are essential. That means they have the responsibility and duty to provide uninterrupted services.
She still can't quite do it. She still sounds like a robot, but she's a little bit better. She's trying. She's trying.
But I will reiterate: the best deals are made at the table, and that's where we will remain until a deal is reached. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, the UN Secretary General has asked nations to bring in higher taxes on oil companies. But this Prime Minister and his Minister of the Environment don't care. Meanwhile, wildfires are ravaging our communities. It's hotter and hotter. People are suffering because of the climate crisis.
Yes, make oil companies pay more money. That will make the fires go out.
Meanwhile, big oil companies are raking in record profits. And when this idea was proposed to raise taxes on them, their lobbyists said no, and the Liberals just crumbled under the pressure.
Yeah, why aren't we taxing corporations more and the individuals less? Wouldn't that help us pay off debts?
Why are the Liberals letting these companies do whatever they want while the planet burns?
Oh my god, the planet's not burning.
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Why do people say that? Why do people say while the planet burns? Bitch, I wish we had the ability. I really wish that, like, something like the Magic School Bus existed, because then we could put these idiots in the Magic School Bus and put them back in, like, the Permian period. Then they can see what it looks like when the planet actually burns. Ugh. Like, or just after the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs, where the heat from the explosion and the shockwave of that explosion raced around the planet and set all the forests on fire. Then the planet was actually burning. Can you imagine all the carbon that was released into the atmosphere when that shit was going down? All those trees on fire at once? But no. Now, right now, the planet is burning. Yes. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. I know. I believe, like him, that Canada needs to do more.
We just had a volcano erupt. We have to throw more money at it. It's the only form of speech she has is either Siri or Alexa.
fight climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. That's why we're the only country in the G20 to have eliminated subsidies to oil and gas companies 2 years before the deadline. This week, we also announced a $130 million fund with the Canadian Federation of Municipalities to work with municipalities throughout the country to improve climate resilience.
Yes, more money for climate resilience. That'll do it. That's the problem. We're not spending enough money on the climate.
Do more, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
If we spend more money, we'll get more snow.
The honourable member from Lethbridge.
Canadians know that the carbon tax is costing them in a big way, but
but it's revenue neutral, don't you know? If you listen to the entire clip, you'll know that the carbon tax doesn't go to the federal budget, which is a crock of shit because it's a tax. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure where else a tax would go otherwise than to the budget of whatever government is issuing the tax. That's what a tax is. That's why when they rebate you, they don't give you back all of the tax, because then they wouldn't make any money. Derpa fucking derp.
what the Liberals are covering up is just how much. But there's this secret report that is out there. It's in possession by the budget watchdog, except he's under a gag order by this Liberal government.
Yeah, the Parliamentary Budget Office got a fucking gag order. They fucking got a... Go off. No, seriously, it's fucking retarded. Like, I don't know how somebody like her can, my mother can, she fucking works with this money. She works with this shit. She knows what taxes pay for. She knows where taxes go. She knows how rebates work. Why is she falling for this shit? Why? I don't fucking understand this. I don't understand how I was raised to question everything, and then I question everything, and I don't, why? Well, I like to watch the whole thing for context. I watch it every day! I know the context! What the hell are you talking about? Oh my god! Like, what the fucking... And now they're fucking... The public servants are... She's getting French training. She's in Ontario getting French training. Meanwhile, there's people in Quebec who need French training. They're not getting bilingual French training. Why do they fucking... Oh my god, I can't stand this shit. It's right in front of her nose. Miss Philosophy Masters, Miss Argue Everything, Question Everything, Debate Everything, except for my boss because they signed my paychecks. I don't want to blow the whistle on shit that I know is wrong because God forbid Pierre Poilievre become Prime Minister because he's fucking Pierre Hitler apparently. I don't get it. Like, it's literally just because Pierre Poilievre's a conservative. That is the only reason she doesn't want Pierre Poilievre in Parliament. If Pierre Poilievre was a liberal, she would be like, I don't agree with everything he says, but I'll vote strategically to get him in. Because he's a liberal. She would say that. But no, he's a conservative, so automatically he's evil. Even though more than half, about 95% of the shit he says makes sense. And it's backed up by shit that he actually researches and gets the statistics for. Shit she used to do for school, for her papers, go and get statistics and shit. Because part of being a philosophy major is taking a class in fucking logic. Anyway.
So he's not able to reveal exactly what it shows. It's time to stop that cover-up. So will the minister quit using his ludicrous talking points that mislead Canadians and finally release the report so that they can know just how much the carbon tax is costing them?
Right on. I think there is something personal between them. Do you think?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And we've been clear all along, and the Conservatives are really the only people that continue to mislead Canadians, particularly on the case with the PBO report, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry. It's called a gag order. And the PBO report literally said that it does that the thing that the carbon tax is not helpful. And what are you talking about misleading Canadians?
The PBO released a report on April 17th which indicated that they've actually overestimated the economic impact of the carbon tax, which re-emphasizes the fact that Canadians get more back than they pay through carbon pricing.
How does that even work? They get more back than they pay through carbon pricing. First of all, that's a lie. Second of all, if that were true, the government would be in even more debt than it is. And then the government's already in an impressive debt. Like, this is crazy.
Speaker, on July 15th, Canadians will receive their next installment of the Canada Carbon Rebate, reaffirming our commitment to lowering our emissions and fighting for affordability every step of the way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Lethbridge.
My question was about the gag order that's been placed on the parliamentary budget officer.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, that wasn't my question at all. That was she's so calm. She's like, my question was about this.
He has been prevented from releasing the report that is in his possession. But that's no surprise to us because, of course, we know that the Liberals appreciate transparency about the same way they appreciate an enema. But the budget watchdog would like to release this report. He just needs the go-ahead from the Liberal government. So would they finally agree to be transparent with Canadians, let the sun shine in, and have the report made public?
No. Because when they let the sun shine in, as you say, then everything will be exposed. And the decay will escalate much quicker than it was before. Because sun and rot, bad.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, let's do it.
This guy. This is the guy who you can hear in the background saying things like, that's ridiculous.
A little history lesson. The PBO once said 8 out of 10 Canadians
The PBO once said, what is he now? Fucking, my dad once said, the parliamentary budget officer once said.
Under this pollution pricing scheme. Flash forward to today. The PBO says 8 out of 10 Canadians are better off under this pollution pricing scheme. You know where...
Yeah, it's a scheme, all right. You got that word right, finally.
They're not better off, though, in that member's constituency, where the Premier increased gas prices by 13 cents a litre, and I don't see her in front of her constituency office protesting.
Yes, yell away, sir.
Member from Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, sunlight and transparency, that's what Canadians were promised. Yet after 9 years, here we are at the heart of another Liberal cover-up. This time the government has been caught red-handed putting a gag order on the parliamentary budget officer. The Liberals don't want Canadians to see the secret report that proves that Canadians pay more for the carbon tax than they get back. Will the government end the carbon tax cover-up and lift the gag order on the parliamentary budget officer, or are they just going to tell the PBO and all Canadians, boo-hoo, get over it?
Yeah. Way to use that word against it. Good job. I like that. They're not like the Conservatives are pointing this shit out. So are the Bloc. Like, this is not good for the Liberals at all. This is a bad look. Like, on top of everything else, we've got a gag order for the parliamentary budget officer. We've got a report talking about compromised members of the House of Commons due to foreign interference. This is not a good thing that we have going on. We need a vote of non-confidence, like, now. And this has to get gotten rid of. I need more coffee, so we're going to do a be right back. I'm going to check on the kidlets, refill my coffee, and I'll be right back. let's get back to our question period.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much,
Oh,
Mr. Speaker. We respect the work of the Parliamentary Budget Officer on this side of the House. They provide independent analysis to the government.
Not the actual minister, but the secretary.
And to Canadians, and Canadians rely on that information for insight into how these programs impact our economy and their pocketbooks. But Conservatives are misleading Canadians. Our government will continue to...
The Conservatives are misleading Canadians. I'm sorry. Who put the gag order on?
Support the PBO to fulfill the role of his office, but what this report correctly confirmed is that 8 out of 10 families receive more money back through the Canada Carbon Rebate than they pay on the price of pollution, Mr. Speaker. And on July 15th, the Canada Carbon Rebate will be arriving in mailboxes and bank accounts.
The Honourable Member from Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, sunny days have given way to a cover-up craze, but Canadians instinctively know the true cost of the carbon tax. They feel it when they fill up at the pump. They feel it when they go get groceries. Our farmers know it when they get their energy bill. And the Parliamentary Budget Officer also sure knows it, and that's why this Prime Minister put a gag order on him. If the government won't admit what Canadians already know, then why not let Canadians decide in a carbon tax election? What are you afraid of?
Because we're not supposed to have an election until 2025. And it doesn't matter how broken things are right now. We just need to keep going and stay the course.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, once again, the history lesson. The PBO once said 8 out of 10 Canadians are better
PBO once said, here we go again,
under this carbon pricing program. Flash forward to today, the PBO says 8 out of 10 Canadians are better off under this pricing program. In that member's riding, it got even better, Mr. Speaker. The rural rebate, despite the vote of the honourable member, against his wishes, is doubling. On July 15th, as my colleague just says, why doesn't he talk to Premier Smith about her oppressive gas pricing in Alberta?
Her oppressive gas pricing. You mean the pricing she had to raise so that the province could afford to keep doing shit? That price raise?
The Honourable Member from Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Well, Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, Canadians are weary and their bank accounts bare. People are tired of being gaslit by this Prime Minister. Canadians already knew that the carbon tax costs more than Liberals care to admit, but now it sounds like that the government also knew better. That's what the Parliamentary Budget Officer said at committee. The government has damning data that they won't let him release it. It's time for the Liberals to quit using these unbelievable talking points. When will they release the secret report that confirms that Canadians were right all along?
Never! Because they want us to think that we're stupid. They're gaslighting us. You don't see what you see. You don't hear what you hear. It's just right-wing talking points. None of this is true. And you're stupid for believing it. That's what they want you to think.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, over the summer, Conservatives could consider taking a math class to brush up on their conservative math, because it just really doesn't seem like conservative math is adding up these days. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives from Saskatchewan and Alberta should talk to their premiers, who jacked up the price of gas on April 1st by over 13 cents.
Gee, why would they have done that on the same day that you raised the carbon tax, I wonder? Could it be so that the province wouldn't go into debt?
There's no Canada Carbon Rebate for provincial gas tax, and there's no rebate for excess oil and gas executives taking home millions and millions of dollars in pay. But, we've said it before, and I'll say it again, Mr. Speaker, who needs an oil sands lobby when you've got the Conservative Party of Canada in this House?
The Honourable Member from Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the gaslighting continues over there. Those wacko talking points show just how desperate the NDP Liberals are to cover up the true costs of the carbon tax. Here's what the budget watchdog said. The government has economic analysis on the impact of the carbon tax itself. We've seen that, the staff in my office, but have been told explicitly not to disclose it and reference it.
Oh, snap! From the PBO's own words. What are you going to do about that?
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister is gagging the budget watchdog as he bankrupts Canadians. So I'll ask it again. When will he release a secret report that confirms that Canadians were right all along?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, once again, a little bit of a history lesson.
Oh my God, he's going to repeat himself again, isn't he? He's going to do it. He's going to do it. Hey, sounds good. Sounds good, Fury.
PBO used to say 8 out of 10 Canadians were better off, more money in their pockets.
No, it doesn't.
As a result of the carbon pricing program of the government, including in Saskatchewan. Flash forward to today. 8 out of 10 Canadians, according to the PBO, are better off, including in Saskatchewan, but bonus, double the rural rebate starting on July 15th, Mr. Speaker.
You know, it's really funny because every time I see clips of this on like TikTok, I see so many people say, I guess I'm the 9th or 10th Canadian. Like, and it's way more than what would be considered, you know, the lower percent. Like, it is definitely not 8 out of 10 Canadians.
He should talk to his premier and tell him to start rebating consumers in Saskatchewan.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Quebec no longer appropriately welcome asylum seekers. That's what the Immigrant Community Support Center said. The director of the center spoke about families with kids living in their cars or crammed into studio apartments. The director of the center said these people deserve a minimum level of dignity, but they're not getting it, especially with the housing crisis. When will the federal government finally understand that by delaying action on this, they are actually causing a humanitarian crisis?
They don't care. They don't care that they're causing a humanitarian crisis. They're not suffering. That's all they give a crap about. They're not suffering, so they're fine.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration. Mr. Speaker, I have met with a number of organizations in Montreal that are doing their best to host asylum seekers and help them. They often tell me they don't get a lot of money from Quebec, even though we are giving $5.2 billion to Quebec.
Did they just try to blame Quebec again? Oh, Quebec's not giving a lot of money. That's really bad. 1 out of 200,000 Canadians aren't from Saskatchewan.
That's how much we've spent since 2015. Yes, we can do more, and that's what we're doing. I have just met with my provincial colleagues, and we will continue to work hard on this. The Honourable Member. Once again, here's what the director of the centre said. She said, we might need a bit more balance when it comes to distributing asylum claims between provinces.
We do, because Quebec is getting tons and tons of asylum seekers, and they're only about 22% of the population.
Speaker, she's perfectly right. It's very unfair that she and other community organizations in Quebec are having to carry this entire burden. It's not fair that people like her are having to tell families that need help, that they can't help them.
Yeah.
Because Ottawa has abandoned them and they don't have the resources. Enough.
Yeah, sorry, we can't help you. We're out of money. We're out of everything. We can't help you.
Is enough. No more discussions. When will there be action? The Honourable Minister of Immigration. Mr. Speaker, since 2015 we've invested $5.2 billion in Quebec, and yet there's not accountability. Quebecers should be asked, Mr. Speaker, since 2015 we've invested $5.2 billion in Quebec, and yet there's not accountability.
Oh my God, he did. He did. We've invested $500 billion and yet there's not accountability. No, there's not. There's not accountability for why you're sending so many people to one place.
Quebecers should be asking more questions about this. And what's very clear as well.
Did they just side with the Quebec Bloc? Did I just side with the Quebec Bloc? I think that's I think the members of French-speaking Conservative.
Is that we need to do more? The director that my colleague quoted, who was quoted in the newspaper, is right. We need to better distribute asylum claims throughout the country. That's what we're doing. Just half an hour ago, I left a meeting on that exact topic. The honorable member for Lac-Saint-Jean.
Lac-Saint-Jean, I believe, is a French-speaking Conservative. Mark Miller, useless LPC.
Plenty of meetings, but no action. And while the minister does nothing, on the ground, meanwhile, community organizations can't find housing for families. They're having to put people on wait lists for food baskets. Can you imagine having to explain a wait list to a hungry child?
Nope.
Now, the Prime Minister and the Premier will meet on Monday. Quebec is asking for asylum claims to be better distributed and is asking for $1 billion to be paid back. Will the Prime Minister of Canada leave that meeting with the check signed and with a date to start better distributing asylum?
No. No, you won't. Because Trudeau is not a Prime Minister that gets anything done. That's the thing about Trudeau. Get nothing done, feel good about it. That and the Bloc doesn't even get along with the Bloc. Quebec is the London of Canada. Not the same country. And lives outside of reality. Yep.
The Honorable Minister of Immigration. Well, if my colleague wants an answer to that, he will have to wait until Monday like everyone else. Now, this Bloc Québécois, they've been asking for asylum claims to be processed more quickly for 6 months, and yet yesterday, the smart Alex in their party were standing up at the Finance Committee to say the opposite.
Did you just call them smart Alex? Wow. Okay.
Complete inconsistency here. It's really baffling.
The honourable member from Chatham, Kent Leamington.
The budget watchdog has released a report stating what Canadians already know, that they pay more in carbon tax than what they get back. More in groceries, more in food, more in home heating, more in transportation, on everything. Liberal, la-la math just not adding up. When will this minister quit using made-up talking points, remove the gag order on the budget watchdog, release the secret report, and end the carbon tax cover-up? Canadians have a right to know.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Where is that minister, by the way? What? My, how parliamentary of you, Frenchie.
Mr. Speaker, that's not what the PBO said. The member has it opposite. The PBO has overestimated the economic impact of carbon pricing on Canada. It means that probably even more than 8 out of 10 families are getting more back through the Canada carbon rebate than they pay in carbon pricing. But this is just another opportunity for the consumer.
Hey, honey, do you get more with your rebate than you pay? Because I could have sworn you get, like, less. How does one distribute asylum? Asylum is gifted, it isn't a resource. No, they're talking about distributing the people that they've given asylum to across the country, because what they're doing right now is they're granting asylum and then they're shipping like 80% of the people that they're giving asylum to Quebec. They're just piling them into Quebec, into Montreal specifically. They're just fucking ramming immigrants into Montreal. And they have nowhere to put them. Apparently, I don't count because I drive more than 40,000 kilometers a year. Oh, well. How nice. So you do that drive that they were insisting needed to happen to save that money if they didn't have the carbon tax for the summer. I spend approximately $35,000 a year just on fuel. Jesus. From that, I'd say $2,500 to $3,000 is tax. So no, I do fucking not get more money back. No, I didn't think you did. I didn't think you did.
To deny climate change.
And literally nobody else does either. I don't know why they're telling us this.
Look,
I don't know why they think that. I don't know why they think that people look in their bank account, see less money than they did before, and be like, yes, that is more.
And proven impact of carbon pricing is just another form of climate change denial. It suits them, and it suits their big oil.
I'm sorry, not wanting carbon pricing is a form of climate denial? What? Hell, just the gas bill alone for the house I spent is $80-ish a month in carbon fees. Do you realize how many polar bears and baby seals you have killed with your logistical prowess, Pink? So just the winter alone, I spent about $400, but got back about $200. Oh yes, that is definitely more. Yes, yes. We live in 1984 times, where double plus ungood is now a thing, and less is now more, and when do we start unpersoning people?
Oil and gas friends. So, Mr. Speaker, who do they really work for? Canadians or big oil and gas execs?
I'm sorry. You have people accused of foreign interference, and you're asking who the Conservatives are working for? Shut up.
The honourable member from Simcoe Grey.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have long known that the carbon tax costs them more than they get back. You know who else knows? These Liberals. That's because the Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed this week that the Liberals commissioned a report that confirmed what Canadians
But Ottawa needs mangoes and avocados.
Already know, that the carbon tax costs families more than they get back. So now the Liberals refuse to release the taxpayer-funded report. Let's end the carbon tax cover-up. When will this minister quit using unbelievable talking points and release the secret report that proves once and for all Canadians are right?
Literally. We all know. We all know. Everybody knows. Just let us read it.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, what's no secret is the Conservatives' climate denial. It's no secret, and Canadians know the Conservatives keep and continue to vote against any action on climate change.
Because spending money isn't going to make the climate stop changing. I'm sorry. It's a cycle. It's gonna keep doing what it's doing. I was just talking about this with my mother-in-law this morning. I'm like, do you realize how many more volcanoes have gotten active recently? And she goes, oh yeah, my husband in the 70s, he told me he literally couldn't go outside in Los Angeles in the summer because you could feel the smog in your lungs. She goes, they've really cleaned up their act since the 70s. I'm like, and meanwhile the West thinks that we're polluting the earth to shit. Meanwhile, we're happily buying stuff from China and India while they're pumping shit into the atmosphere and dumping shit into the river systems. Like my mother-in-law and I were in full agreement that this is bullshit.
Solutions that work, i.e. something the Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed multiple times, which is that carbon pricing is the most cost-effective market-based mechanism that the Conservatives actually campaigned on in the last election.
The most
I remind
cost-effective, yes. When do you start impersonating people? Pay no attention to the man behind the gulag, curtain.
Our government will continue to address climate change while putting more money in the pockets of Canadians.
I'm going to ask all members, please, during questions as well as during answers, to please not take the floor unless they're recognized by the chair to do so.
Shut up,
It makes it very difficult for members to hear the questions, especially those who use simultaneous interpretation. L'honorable député de Portneuf.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The cover-up operation is continuing under these Liberals. Another example of the same. At the Finance Committee, the Parliamentary Budget Officer said very clearly that the government has an analysis of the carbon tax impacts, but has been told not to disclose it and not even to mention it. Meanwhile, the Bloc Québécois is constantly supporting the Liberals. It voted against our motion to give Quebecers a holiday tax break. When will the Liberal minister publish his secret carbon tax? So that...
Let's see if they are going to say something different. Let's skip forward
This
a bit.
is a climate crisis. The Liberals have been asleep at the wheel, letting oil and gas CEOs pollute more and more each year. And the Conservatives can't even agree if climate change is real. Shame. The UN Secretary General is calling...
Oh, good. You got a hold of... Yes. Yes. The green economy is worth billions due to the billions in subsidies it receives. Yup. All they have to do is look at the pollution history of the Grand River and the Speed River, and it all goes away.
For a windfall tax on oil and gas profits to help fund climate action. New Democrats agree.
Yes, help fund climate action. Because that's what we need. More money for climate action.
But why are the Liberals letting big oil rip off Canadians and destroy our climate?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Over the past 2 years, we've introduced a new clean fuel standard.
Oh, a new clean fuel standard, eh? Oh, I see. And what has that done?
Something Conservatives have pledged to do during the last election campaign, but changed their minds to please their leader and voted against. We've also raised the price on pollution. We're putting a cap on greenhouse gas.
European domestic car emissions over the last 10 years are less than one season of Disney cruise. Is less than 1% of one season of Disney Cruises emission and 3 days of China's output. But everyone needs to buy an EV in a northern climate. Yeah, I know, right? How the fuck do they expect electric vehicles to run properly in a fucking winter when I'm sure we've all been trying to use our phone in like -10, and then the phone is like, it's too cold. Ugh. And then the battery dies. Like, also, I'm sure you've been driving on those, or been in those really hot days in the summer when you've accidentally put your phone in the sun. And it goes, I'm too hot. I'm shutting down. Ugh. So, who's to say that a fucking electric vehicle won't go, I'm too cold. I'm shutting down. I'm too hot. I'm shutting down. Fuck.
Gas emissions from the oil and gas sector, and we're the only major oil producing country in the world to do so. Our emissions are so low that the last time they were this low in Canada was shortly after the Canadians won the last Stanley Cup, Mr. Speaker. But I will say, it'd be nice if when the going gets tough, the NDP didn't vote with the Conservatives on carbon pricing. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
We have a lot of freaking trees to absorb our shit.
The Honourable Member from Edmonton, Griesbach.
You lose someone and you're trying to grieve, and then somebody else dies.
Why are nations that don't even measure the size of a city here telling me how I should travel? That is true.
This is the feeling of the Piikani First Nation who has seen an unfathomable amount of death due to the toxic drug crisis. First Nations in Alberta are dying from toxic drugs 8 times faster than the rest of the province's population. The Alberta Conservative model
I'm sorry to say it, but that's because Indigenous people are doing drugs at a higher rate than other people. That's why they're dying from them more. I'm sorry to say it. But that's why. It's not because the drugs are like, I am in the veins of an Indigenous person. Quick! Act faster and more virulently! Ha ha ha! No, it's because Indigenous people, I'm sorry to say, statistically tend to have a higher rate of drug and alcohol addiction. That's just how it is. And here we've got 100 trees to every half a person. Yeah, we fucking trees everywhere.
Isn't working, and the federal government has shown no leadership. When will this Liberal government have the courage to intervene against dangerous conservative policies and save Indigenous lives?
Dangerous conservative policies? What are those? Like, putting drug dealers in jail and trying to get drug addicts rehab instead of letting them just languish in a safe injection site, getting higher and higher until they die, and then the safe injection person has to Narcan them back to life, and then they're like, can I have some more? Like, really? Is that what you consider a good drug policy? I operate 110 kilometers away from where Blind Press is sitting right now. Yep.
Honorable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the member opposite that it is a tragedy that we are losing our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers to this toxic, polluted drug supply that we see all
toxic and polluted. Do you notice that the environmental buzzwords they're using for drug supply? Like, they have, like, better, cleaner drugs, and that's what they want. They do, by the way, have better, cleaner drugs that they want people to be on. That's what safe consumption sites are. They're like, here, have these pharmaceutical-grade drugs instead of that heroin. Like, that's what they're doing. That's what they're... Here, let me help you inject this morphine. Like, what the fuck? Oh, there's another Stanley Cup reference. They've got to show they're hip and with it.
across the country, including and predominantly in and amongst First Nations, and that's why our government has invested billions of dollars to support Indigenous-led approaches to mental wellness. We'll continue to work with First Nations leaders on the solutions that will work for them. Mr. Speaker, this crisis has to end.
Well, then stop fucking doing shit like decriminalizing hard drugs in provinces like BC, where there's a huge First Nations population. How about that?
The honourable member from Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the world has seen unprecedented scientific and technological advancement in artificial intelligence in recent years. But this change is plagued by misinformation and disinformation targeting hardworking Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We recently saw how conservatives, like the member from Portage-Lisgar, intend to misuse this technology to mislead Canadians.
Wait, what? Are they suggesting that the Conservatives are using AI to mislead Canadians?
Could the President of the Treasury Board explain how our government is working responsibly, adapt to these changes, protecting Canadians, their information, and the country as a whole? Thank you.
Yeah, how are we protecting the country as a whole when we've got people accused of foreign interference? How?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
now more than ever before, researchers and companies are using AI to create innovations and job opportunities, from drug discovery to energy efficiency.
Drug discovery with AI? How does that work?
And housing innovation. And that's why we have begun to develop the first ever government strategy on AI for the public service, Mr. Speaker, removing barriers and filling gaps for the responsible, transparent use of AI. Mr. Speaker, instead of spreading misinformation, our side of the House is committed to embracing new technologies that allow local businesses, educators, and our broader economy to flourish.
Does anybody know what she just said? Anybody? Does anybody know what she just said?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Island and Rideau Lakes.
$123 million handed out to ineligible companies, 186 conflicts of interest, and 76 million taxpayer dollars given out to well-connected Liberals. After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, it's clear that this Prime Minister isn't worth the cost or the corruption of his billion-dollar green slush fund. Conservatives are calling for the evidence of corruption to be handed over to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
It won't be. And if it is, it'll be like Blake Starr said, it'll be blacked out.
So, will the NDP, Liberal government, end the cover-up and call in the Mounties?
Nope.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the
Where are
Sustainable
all the
Development
fucking
Technology
ministers?
Canada is an independent organization that's been around for over 20 years, was supported by all members of Parliament at the time. I understand that the Conservatives' opposition to fighting climate change gives them an ideological bent
You
against...
can't even say what you're trying to say because it's that wrong. Holy crap.
...this organization. But notwithstanding that, the governance structure of this organization, when we learned of mismanagement, we investigated, we triggered numerous independent reviews, including the Auditor General's report, which we collaborated with, and now we're actioning a new governance framework for the organization.
The member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
You almost couldn't hear that answer over the paper shredders that are running over at the billion-dollar green slush fund.
Okay, that was funny. That was well done. That was well done.
We know that in 2017, the Auditor General gave a clean bill of health to this organization that Conservatives stood up to fund clean green tech, but the Liberals got into office and decided to line the pockets of the well-connected Liberal friends. And what did we see with the Auditor General report that Conservatives called for and these Liberals opposed? 186 conflicts of interest and over $100 million being
we have 5 times
misappropriated.
the population and 1/15th of the space. True.
Turn over the evidence to the RCMP, yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation.
As soon as allegations of mismanagement on Sustainable Development Technology Canada surfaced, our government acted immediately. We triggered an independent review of the governance model, an independent review of the HR practices in the organization. We issued a management response action plan.
Review, huh?
We've done everything right along the way to address the concerns that rightfully Canadians should expect. The highest standards of governance when dealing with...
You can't even say highest standards of governance because you don't believe in it.
...public funds. That's exactly what we're doing and committed to. And the organization is going to be reconstituted within the National Research Council to have better oversight.
Sure it is. We have oh shit. Okay. Let's skip ahead a little bit because I want to make sure I don't want to be going too much longer because I've got the boys and they want to eat and we've got stuff to do. Let's skip to the 40-minute mark. See what's going on over there.
The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, I am all too happy to set the record straight. I have had no role in this company since being elected in 2021. Regarding the day in question, I have shared my phone records to the committee and with the commissioner, which confirms that I am not the person in this story. Mr. Speaker, I have said it. The companies have said it. And now I've proved it. I was not involved.
I was not involved. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, let's get back to working for Canadians and focusing on the real issues.
Focusing on the real issues. What does he think he is, William Shatner?
The honourable member from Thornhill.
The minister hasn't proved a single thing. We're looking for who he called the other Randy. I'm pretty confident that we don't actually have to look very far because the other Randy might be right here. The one who broke the conflict of interest law, the one who broke the Lobbying Act, and who broke the criminal code.
Oh,
so
shit.
will the employment minister from Edmonton let us know if Randy is in the room?
Oh shit. I'm glad I skipped over here. Go Melissa Landsman.
The honourable leader of the government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the minister just answered that question.
That's right.
The honourable member from Sherwood Park, Fort
What did he
Saskatchewan.
say?
The honourable leader of the government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the minister just answered that question.
Mr. Speaker, the minister doesn't answer the question. That's insane. If you do not have the base skills, you cannot develop AI, twats. Right?
The honourable member from Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Speaker, here's a story that is a bit randy about a Liberal's excuse that seemed just too handy. Blame.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! We have a rhymer.
Story that is a bit randy.
From Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Speaker, here's a story that is a bit randy about a Liberal's excuse that seemed just too handy. Blame others for failures they just could not resist. But if you're going to blame someone, be sure they exist. The employment minister continues to blame the mysterious other Randy for his ethical trouble. Meanwhile, after 9 years, all this country's problems have actually been caused by the other Justin. Well, the person responsible...
The other Justin. Holy shit, this is great. I'm so glad I skipped to this.
The scandal. Will the real Randy please stand up? Stand up!
This is great.
I'm going to encourage members not to skate too close to the line in terms of referring to other members.
Oh, get fucked, Fergus. Get fucked.
First names. I understand that that on the first name that was mentioned that would made sense, but it's the second name that was mentioned that it's just skating a little bit too close.
Stop mentioning names. It's
the honourable leader
unparliamentary.
of the government in the House of Commons.
So, Mr. Speaker, we just got an interesting little behind-the-scenes insight into how this works over there. The minister stood up and comprehensively swatted away.
What? Wait, what? Comprehensively did what now?
All these questions.
I love how everyone's just laughing.
Was two more questions that those members are so proud of wittily writing in the morning and rehearsing in front of the mirror that they just have to get it off their chest, Mr. Speaker.
Are you sure that was done rehearsed? Because maybe some people are just good at thinking on their feet, dude, and you're not.
Questions orales, oral questions.
What the hell happened? Oh, why did it skip that far? But yeah, that's insane. Maybe honorable government house leader, people are more good at thinking on their feet than you, and you just suck at it. Maybe that's just something you have to deal with.
building procurement. What's
going on in this House? They don't want to talk about lower interest rates. They don't want to talk about 8 out of 10 Canadians being corrupt.
Listen to him yell. Holy shit. He is pissed. He's an angry government House leader.
What did I miss yesterday?
The Honourable Member for Louis-Hébert. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I started in politics in 2015, we were at the end of a decade where Conservatives betrayed young Quebecers.
Conservatives betrayed young family. Really? Really? Did they? An independent review formed by the government to review the government. Sure, who watches The Watchmen? He has a very shiny head.
By not integrating Davy into the
Why do you have a shiny head?
national shipbuilding strategy, and then they hid behind tribunals to justify their inaction with regards to the bridge in Quebec City. Now that we've corrected the injustice for Davy shipbuilding, can the Minister tell us how we will continue to work for our infrastructure for our future generations? The Honourable Minister for Public Services and Procurement. With pleasure, Mr. Speaker. Hope and good work. Great news was announced on the 15th of May with regards to Quebec City Bridge. We will be saving and restoring this critical infrastructure, which is unique in our world. It's strategic and critical for Quebec. Thank you to the member for Louis-Hébert and the Prime Minister for their leadership and for their work. Thank you to Yvon Charret, our negotiator, and the Chamber of Commerce, and all the people of Quebec who have supported us over the past number of years to get to this excellent result.
So that was a dick-sucking question. I think he doth protest too much. He did off that woman. That dead whore was nothing to do with him, and what is, and we need to define what is. Why are they cackling? They're like,
J'ai déjà demandé une fois.
I've already asked this once, please.
The Honourable... Merci. The Honourable Member from St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, contrary to the Minister's representation, he has not turned over all of his phone records and text messages. Text messages reveal that someone named Randy from a company that the Minister of Employment has a 50% interest in was involved in a business deal, now mired in allegations of...
Oh no, we're saying names again.
Fraud. The minister says it wasn't him, it was some other Randy. Trouble is, no one can identify who that other Randy is. So has the minister in the past 48 hours poured over the employment records of the handful of employees at his company to find Randy?
Whatever happened to Randy? Whatever happened to Randy?
The Honourable Leader of the Government has a comment.
Just when we thought we had heard from the final member who was practicing all morning in the mirror.
Oh my God, seriously? He just fucking talked. He was just talking normally. What are you talking about?
Straight into the camera over there. And
You're insane.
Question that was just answered several minutes ago. I think these people over there need to be a little more agile. The minister has answered the question.
No, he hasn't.
The Honourable Member from St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, if the minister is for Randy in the text messages, then the minister broke the law, including contravening the Conflict of Interest Act. It shouldn't be difficult to find the other Randy if he exists. If the minister didn't break the law, then where's Randy?
The Honourable Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
And why is the government
I just
House
want to
Leader
remind the member
answering
that
instead of...
I'm over here, not over there. But, Mr. Speaker...
What did he say?
Speaker, I just want to remind the member that I'm over here, not over there.
What the f...
But, Mr. Speaker...
Wow. Call him out.
Say that. McKinnon, you got a crooked minister, and that's all you got?
Wow. Order.
You're laughing.
Order.
Crooked minister, and you're laughing.
I'd like to remind all members
You got crooks over there.
that questions should be addressed through the chair, but members can look where they wish to ask or answer questions.
They're pissed. He is not a happy camper over there. Holy shit.
Minister, Leader of the Government has 24 seconds left on the clock.
Mr. Speaker, the minister has responded comprehensively to all of these questions.
Here's a limerick I made at will. Enjoy it as it is beyond my skill. Or enjoy it as is, but I doubt my skill. Sorry. I would squeak in an infraction of parliamentary speech, but I feel that it is beyond my reach. But intellectually I am beyond my reach. I like that.
And what I find a little off-putting in the tone and tenor of the member's question is that in this place we are all to presume each other to be honorable. That is not what that member did.
But because you're not acting honorably. He's asking the minister who is there a question and you're answering for him. That's not honorable.
And that member should carefully consider the kinds of words that he uses in this House.
The honourable member from Sturgeon Park,
Mr. Speaker,
excuse me,
Superman.
Sturgeon River Parkland.
Randy, we know the identity of these fictional characters, but Canadians want to know who's Randy. The mysterious Randy is in control of a fraudulent company called Global Health Imports, and his business partner Stephen Anderson says that he's a public official. And by pure coincidence, the Minister of Employment by the same name founded Global Health Imports and is a 50% shareholder.
Oh, well, that's a fantastic coincidence.
Now, we just heard the minister say that he's not involved, but isn't he at all curious about who this Randy fellow is that's committing fraud at a company he owns 50% of? Why won't he tell us who this Randy is?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of...
Oh my God, let him why will the minister not answer a question?
Well, I'm glad, Mr. Speaker, that this segment has been brought to you by what goes on in the House of Commons. Because here we have yet another Conservative member who toiled over this witty...
Oh my God. You really are stuck on this whole practiced in the mirror thing, aren't you?
He texted all morning, looked in the mirror, hoped the leader was there, because if the leader were
This is embarrassing.
then he's going to put it on Facebook. But what he won't do is put this answer on Facebook, happily saving me from 1,000 trolls online. But this member should know better that he asked those questions and presumes the dishonor of this question.
Did he just whine about online trolls because he's not answering questions and those clips get posted because Canadians are sick of this shit and they're sharing it with their friends who think that this is fine? Like, are you insane? These people are insane. These people have lost their goddamn minds, and I swear to God, I don't understand how we allowed them to stay in power for so long. But my good friends, it has been 2 hours. I'm gonna end this and do stuff with my kids. I'll be back tonight for the combat hour, and it will be Friday Night Fights. So come and hang out with me and watch that. And if you are a player and you want to have a set with me, then come and tell me in chat and we'll hang out and do that. So thank you for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I will see you tonight for the Combat Hour. Bye, guys.